Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's good to be back, and this time I have prepared a presentation for you all on the transhumanism agenda. It is of particular interest to me, and also the Lord is putting upon my heart to share it with you, really because of my background. I have a background in research and technological development programs, working with researchers in the private sector and also in academia for 15 years. And I've also got a background in biochemistry, which I studied at university. So I think with those unique aspects, I'm in a good position to decipher some of the medical and technological terminology that is going on at the minute with the whole transhumanism agenda. And I feel that the Lord leads me to do this work in this specific area because there is a lot of decisions that are going to have to be made, and it is good that you are informed as a Christian to know exactly what's happening and you don't get carried along with the flow and not question and make the right decisions for you. So there's been many steps towards transhumanism going on right from the 1950s, really. If you think about all of the films, all the movies that have been out, which have talked about man merging with machine. So this concept isn't new, and it has become embedded in everyone's consciousness now that it almost seems like a natural progression for humanity. And that, coupled with an exponential technological growth within the world, is a perfect recipe now for this agenda to be rolled out. So it could happen more slowly or quickly, and recently with the coronavirus pandemic, that has been a platform for the acceleration of the transhumanism agenda. And so what we've seen recently with the lockdowns and social isolation, etc., is a rapid onset towards merging man with machine, and I'm going to talk a wee bit more about that within this presentation. I'm also going to talk about how there's going to be a global reset, possibly an economic reset too, and how that meshes in with blockchain technology and also the vaccination. And then the next step after that will be 5G will be completed, which of course is needed for the AI merge, because we're going to be needed to connect to the cloud constantly where we are. And also with the whole blockchain technology, again, we're going to be harnessing human behavior. So you will be given credit for good behavior and conforming to the system, and this is all part of the new surveillance state as well, so it all mixes in. And then finally, with the digital IDs that everyone will have, I've put microchips there, but it could be really any of the sensors that come out that are actually becoming more advanced than microchips. So let's have a look at it in respect to Bible prophecy. Look, Jesus was asked in Matthew 24 by his disciples, "Lord, what will be the sign of the coming of you at the end?" And Jesus replied, "But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came, and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." I often look and see what the comparisons are to today and what it was like in the days of Noah. So if we have a wee look at what the Bible tells us about those in the days of Noah, in the book of Genesis, it talks about giants being there on the earth, and it says that when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. And the root word for men of renown is Gibor, and that basically comes from another word meaning powerful, and by implication it means warrior or a tyrant, a champion, a giant, a man, a mighty man, a strong man, a valiant man. So in those days, the sons of God came into the daughters of men, which basically meant that there was intermarriage and children being born to that. So humans were no longer simply humans. There was humans mixing with other heavenly beings and producing offspring such as giants. So if we have a look today, can we see any combinations, hybridizations of the humans? And the answer is yes, and I'll talk about that a little bit further down. So we can give a big check mark to that. And then secondly, in the days of Noah, God, this is taken from Genesis, the God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his hearts was only continuously evil. So we see today that people have become quite stubborn and rebellious against God, and they have a lot of evil thoughts in their heart, and good has become evil and evil has become good and everything has become reversed. So we can give that a big check and say, yes, we are definitely in agreement there that we are living in those days just like it was in the days of Noah. And finally, what happens in the days of Noah? Noah told everyone for 120 years there was a flood coming, and they all laughed at him, they mocked, they scoffed. And, you know, it's exactly what's going on today. We tell people we're at the end. Jesus is coming back soon. You know, you have to prepare, repent, believe in God. He'll change your life, etc., etc. And what happens? People think we're crazy. They tell us to go away. They don't want to know. There is generally a very strong culture of unwillingness to believe and stubbornness and an unwillingness to repent, just like it was in the days of Noah. So have we reached this time in history again? And as I said, yes, we have the human hybrids, but the human hybrids that are going on, and I'll explain in a minute what they aren't on a mass level. Whenever it was in the days of Noah, there was human hybridization happening on a mass level where there was lots and lots of changing of the species through the children being born. So it wasn't like one or two in a lab somewhere. It was prolific around the world. So we haven't quite made that transition yet to the whole of the population, but that will happen when the AI singularity comes in, and we're not too far off that. And I will explain later. Generally, some of the leading experts in the field say it could be as early as 2030 that we'll have mass AI, because once it kicks off, it will be exponential and it will happen very, very quickly, like a vertical curve going up. So I've talked about the wickedness of the heart. Yeah, we've got that. And the rebelliousness. Yes. And, you know, with the LGBTQ plus community, that is regarded as good. And if we were to speak out against that, we are called evil. So that's just an example. So the human hybrids that are existing today, there has been a bit of a change in the world's ethics towards this. Initially, no one would touch it apart from China. And now we're seeing a change of culture across the world whereby these experiments are being allowed now in labs and the bans are being lifted. So in Japan, there was the first human animal embryo was allowed last year. And I will just get that tab up for you. So human animal embryo. Here we go here. And this is from Science Focus. Just give me a sec. Okay, so this is from last year. And, oh, sorry about this. I'm going to try and edit this afterwards so that I don't have... Okay, sorry, here's it here. Japan approves the first human animal embryo. This was in July of last year. And it said that the main way that they're lifting these bans is that they're saying that the animals can grow human parts, so that grow human organs, so that people here on the transplant list can get an organ, and that's how they're selling this to people. So you can see here the title. The research could eventually lead to new sources of organs for transplant, but ethical and technical hurdles need to be overcome. Now, whenever this was first suggested years ago, there was outcry from everywhere, but now, you know, there's just some technical hurdles to overcome. Let's read on and see what it says. A Japanese stem cell scientist is the first to receive government support to create animal embryos that contain human cells and transplant them into surrogate animals, since a ban on the practice was overturned earlier this year. Nakuchi, who leads teams at the University of Tokyo and Stanford University in California, you see now how America is involved, plans to grow human cells in a mouse and in rat embryos and then transplant those embryos into surrogate animals. Nakuchi's ultimate goal is to produce animals with organs made of human cells that can eventually be transplanted into people. So until March, here it says Japan explicitly forbade the growth of animal embryos containing human cells beyond 14 days, or the transplant of such embryos into a surrogate uterus. But that month, Japan's Education and Science Ministry issued new guidelines allowing the creation of human animal embryos that can be transplanted into surrogate animals and brought to term. So let's have a little read here. Hello, country. Nakuchi's experiments are the first to be approved under Japan's new laws by a committee of experts in the Science Ministry. Final approval from the ministry is expected next month. So that is an example of that. And if we go to the next one, you can see there's human pig hybrid created in the lab, and I'll click on that in a minute. And then, wait, what? The first human-monkey hybrid embryo was just created in China, and that was 2019. And then, human-animal hybrids, can we justify the experiments? So I have time just to go into one or two more of these until part 2. So let me just have a look. So, not very good at doing this yet. Should have had this planned out. Bear with me. Okay, sorry about that. I had to sort out the slides. So here we go now. We're going to go to these articles. It was working a second ago. Oh. Okay, so this is the human-pig hybrid created in the lab. And if you look here, this is in the National Geographic. And this is 2020 or 19. It's quite recent. Okay, so I don't know if this is the actual the human pig embryo hybrid. It's showing some sort of a fetus. I don't know exactly what it's off. It might be the real thing. It might just be a stock photo. But basically, it's saying here that in this biomedical advance has long been a dream and a quandary for scientists hoping to address a critical shortage of donor organs. So you can see the way that this is going to be brought in. So rather than relying on a generous donor, you could grow a custom organ inside an animal instead. So basically, it says in the past, human-animal chimeras have been beyond reach, and such experiments are currently ineligible for public funding in the United States. Public opinion too has hampered the creation of organisms that are part human, part animal. And we know why, because the Bible tells us that it's a no-go area. So that's that article, and I have a couple more here. So there's the human monkey hybrid, and that has been recently too. And then there's, can we justify the experiments? Okay, so I'm going to leave it there and then come back